Romance Films.
Oh,
I'm James Plumb, filmmaker and sexual astronaut, and as ever, I'm joined by my buxom co-host.
I love these. James Morrissey, another filmmaker, and I'm not a sexual astronaut. I didn't pass the test. Sorry.
That's your nickname.
Yeah.
James, not a sexual
not
astronaut.
Not a sexual. Yes. I think it goes well. It ties in nicely.
He flunked from space sex school, so
I proper flunked. Yeah. It was the whole anti-gravity thing that kind of put me off. I don't know.
That was it. You couldn't manage spunking in 0G.
No.
I'm not sure I'm going to keep that in.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on from that weirdness. I can't. I'm stuck in 0G jizz.
0G, yeah. Anyway, Metal Skid.
As per previous weeks, we're campaigning for a forgotten masterpiece of genre cinema to be given the Blu Ray treatment, and this week is Jimmy M's choice. Jim, what have you chosen for us?
I've gone for a nice, gritty Australian film. This is Metal Skin, 1994.
Ooh, recent.
Yes, and I'll read the plot for you now. It's over here, so that's why I'm obviously over here. Psycho Joe, a petrolhead from Altona, Melbourne, secures employment at a local supermarket. Here, he meets the oversexed Daisy. Joe and Daisy form a friendship based on a mutual interest in old hot cars. Joe also forms a relationship with a satanic fellow employee. The nihilism of these young characters, coupled with parental disputes, leads to various tragedies. I think it pretty much sums that up. That's so Jimbo.
Jim, why did you choose this film for us, mate?
One, because it met the criteria. Yeah. And two, it sounded really kind of cool. I kind of like the whole tragedy aspect of it, the thriller, flawed characters. So and the cover looked pretty cool as well. So I thought, I'd throw you away. What you think of it then?
Yeah, not my first time watch. So when Jim suggested this film, I was like, oh, mate, I remember seeing this about 20 years ago, and I thought it was pretentious. And then I started watching it, and I went, oh, shit, no, that I'm thinking of a different film. So now I can't remember what this pretentious Mad Max-esque film was.
I was going to say, can you remember what it was? Yeah.
No, and it was really killing me. I wasted about half a day trying to find out what it was. I was typing into Google, pretentious Mad Max rip-off, da-da-da-da-da. No, can't remember. All I know is I think it was on a double bill on Film 4 with Metal Skin. And I remember watching them back to back. Metal Skin, I thought Metal Skin was the pretentious one because it's quite a pretentious title, you know. Metal Skin doesn't really represent the film you're going to get. So I started rewatching it grudgingly. I was like, all right, Jim, I'll trust you. And then I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, not bad. I mean, I do have some issues with it, which we'll kind of get to as we go into it, but much better than I thought it was, and now I'm on the hunt for this weird, pretentious, I think it was foreign, road movie. So
maybe we should track it down. We can review it again, I guess, at some point.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, as I haven't been able to find it through the Googles, that it probably also meets the criteria for this show. But then I'm not sure I want to rewatch a film I didn't like when I was 20. Because I watched loads of shit when I was 20.
Tastes change. I mean, I used to hate Sprouts, and I quite like Sprouts now, so you never know.
You gotta mix bacon. That's the secret.
Bacon and Sprouts are lovely. Bit of garlic as well, actually. That goes down a treat.
Awesome.
Well, again, this was my first time watching it. I wasn't in love with the film. It wasn't the best one I've ever seen in my life, but I thought it was a good film. I kind of like those misfits in, these flawed characters in a quite a quirky world of petrol heads and stuff like that, and just not really knowing how it's going to pan out for each character. And just the film exploring these characters and their relationships and the kind of shenanigans they get up to and whatnot. It did go on a bit too long for me, though. I did feel it was a bit too long. It was a bit almost self-indulgent.
There were bits where they were repeating same character beats, and you were like, you've done that, and I get that, and I agree with you. I'm with the character, but now you're just boring me. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that kind of, I was like, come on, just get to it, trim the fat, if you will. But I did enjoy watching it, and just it did remind me of a few films, but I kind of like that gritty. It had a really gritty British, industrial kind of
very
feel to it too.
90s.
Yeah,
One of my
very 90s
criticisms
as well.
was towards the end, it felt like they fucked up the white balance. And I was just like, that was such a
Yeah.
90s thing. And I remember,
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. That you know, although it's an Australian flick, it felt very British 90s where they were just like, everything's blue.
Blue,
You know,
blue.
blue grades
Yeah.
all over it. And I was
love
just
it.
like, yeah, you know what though? Doesn't need it, but that's me coming to it from, you know, 2020, where I'm like, you know what? It's okay for it that the actual
Yeah. You can get across the melancholy and the sadness and the depression without making everything fucking blue. You know what I mean? Just through acting and good storytelling. But
I love the characters. I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that it did really well, and it felt very 90s, very Australian. And as you said, like that whole Australian rev heads culture, you know, like these obsessed with cars, and like they've got amazing like genre cinema come out of just their obsession with cars and all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, absolutely dug it. Loved the characters. Loved, you know, the male characters and how the female characters kind of interwove with that and everything. Really interesting dynamics. But as you said, just kind of repeated, and they kind of, to use a metaphor, spun its wheels a little bit in that second act. But I mean, you know, like I'll mention it now. We can talk about it later if you want. All was forgiven when it hit that final act, and then that final showdown. I was just like, fucking amazing.
Yeah, it got really kind of brutal.
I will forgive that last 10 minutes. Forgive everything that came before, because that was fucking intense.
They really upped the ante on that, didn't they? They kind of really went for it towards the end, and it was kind of, so perhaps maybe in the edit they were thinking, oh, we can kind of repeat these things, these repetitions of beats, like you said, and maybe because we know it's going to come to something. But nevertheless, no, I thought it was a good film. I thought, again, the characters, I kind of like how it starts off. I like a film which you don't quite know where it's going to go, and the characters, they're so off the cuff, they're so unique. Like, so often when you can watch a film, you can see a character and it's a proper makeshift film character. You know, it's, you know, the fucking protagonist or whatever. And you know pretty much this is the guy and he's going to do good and he's going to have this inner turmoil and he's going to come good at the end. But this, with Misfits kind of characters, you kind of almost like a bit of a guessing game. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the main character, Joe.
Unpredictable, definitely.
Yeah, definitely unpredictable. Like, I kind of enjoyed watching him just go from like quiet, geeky, shy kid to this like tortured by his father's mental health problems, and then him becoming
his own mental health problems. Really.
Yeah, definitely. And then him becoming this kind of almost like the aggressor, the villain.
Of the piece,
and then you got I forgot his name now. What's the Daisy, who almost comes across as like a jock, bit of a twat, cheats on his girlfriend, and then he kind of becomes almost like the protagonist. So it's kind of like these changes and shifts and all that. So yeah, I kind of liked being kept on the kept on my toes, like, you know, watching it.
What's his name? Ben Mendelsohn in an early role. So he's now massive in Hollywood. So he was in like Rogue One. He was the bad guy in Ready Player One. Recently, he was in Captain Marvel as what you thought was a bad guy, but then turned out not to be a bad guy. Spoiler, but I think everybody's seen Captain Marvel. Really great role in that, like just dicking around kind of character. And Joe, who's like the main character as well. I love that character arc. And that also felt like a very 90s thing where you're introduced to this kind of quirky guy. And then as the film progresses, you're like, oh, wait, I probably shouldn't be supporting this quirky guy who has all these fucking flaws, including, and are we doing spoilers or what do you reckon? No, I tell you what,
any major.
But there's a series of actions towards the end where, he is no longer the hero of the piece. The actions that he did, I was actually blown away. And I remember, just muttering to myself, fuck. Several times. A few of the things he did, I was just like, ooh, fuck.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed the different characters, and particularly Savina as well. Her kind of similar to Joe, issues with her mum, parental disputes and stuff. So they were all kind of connected as well, weren't they? With that kind of like their flawed and the family kind of disputes. With
Roz early on, and obviously, she'd been in that car crash earlier on, which had that amazing payoff towards the end where you've got the car chase. And for me, the car chase was substituting, like, if it wasn't an Australian road movie, it would be the two guys fighting. It would be a fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
But instead of like using their fists, they're using these two cars bombing around and smashing into each other. And what was great was her almost fucking traumatized reaction going through the film. So it's like the payoff, you know, it like starts with her, and obviously she was in this accident, and you know, one of her first lines is, I don't want you driving, I don't want to go around in these cars anymore, and that's within the first few minutes. And then boom, the payoff is obviously she fucking loses the plot by the end of it. And again, amazing journey for that character. But it also helps sell how fucking intense the car chase was. And there's great cut tos and everything. I mean, you know, you have these like little cutaways as both obviously the camera's in one car, and they're just aiming at Ben Mendelsohn's character as they're driving along, and you just like see him quickly like whip his head and just kind of stare at the camera, and like you're fucking terrified as the viewer. You're like, is he going to crash now? Because that can't be safe. And you're worried. You know, is the camera guy safe as well? So you're probably thick of it as well, which is just amazing. Yeah, amazing.
And I would say like one thing that stood out for me was actual edit of the film, the way they edited it. It's kind of like these cutaways, they kind of mess with segments and sequences.
Yeah.
Very kind of non-linear. Like,
did you read the trivia about that, about the editing?
No, I didn't. What was the?
This is the thing. So the end sequence was actually edited by somebody else. So the rest of the film was edited, you know, by one editor, and then they wanted it to feel completely different. It was handed over to a different editor who, obviously created that amazing ending. So
wow, fair play. That's a bad idea.
I think it's and again, another driving pun, such a gear shift as well, you know.
You've written these down, haven't you?
I'm ready.
There's a whole sheet next to you. Yeah, I know, but again, that was cool to see, you know, some fancy editing, and I overall just enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film. Again, a bit too long, but
it felt very 90s indulgent in a, but because the characters were so good, it was still okay. I mean, it didn't hurt it overall, but as you say, trim the fat, definitely.
Yeah, a lot of fat trimming on that one, but I enjoyed it.
Cool. All right, Jim. So who is the perfect home for this film? What Blu-ray label should be putting this bad boy out?
Well, I was trying to look at, I went to Jim for this. He's more on the ball with these DVD Blu-ray labels than what I am. But Jim mentioned Film 4. I can imagine there are some nice gritty British films. Films like Trainspotting, which definitely I could see a lot of Trainspotting in this film. I looked up MPI Media Group. They got a couple of thrillers on there. So they got films like Henry on there too. So they may want to indulge because it does get a bit thriller, gory. And Arrow. Arrow, if anyone could do Arrow, can do it. So definitely, they're my picks.
I'm gonna say Arrow, and I know we joked about this. It was just like, who do you think? And I'm like, when in doubt, say Arrow. But for this film, there is actually a reason behind it. Is they've put out a lot of stuff from like Australia and New Zealand. So in the early days of Arrow, they put out this post-apocalyptic movie called Dead End Driving, again from Australia. And they've also this is New Zealand, but they've also put out some work by Vincent Ward, who did like Navigator. He was attached nearly to do Alien 3, and he's kind of done, again, it's this very genre-based, but very 90s kind of cinema as well. So they put out some films by him as well. So I think Arrow actually would be really well placed to do it. And again, it's one of those ones, it's surprising it hasn't had a Blu-ray release, because Geoffrey Wright, who directed it, he did Romper Stomper, which was massive in the 90s. I remember working in the video shop when that came out, and there was just such a, like, that film was out constantly. We had
Russell Crowe
of the video for that. It's a weird one that it's not better known. As I say, I saw it 20 plus years ago on Film 4 and then forgot about it. No, definitely. I think Arrow, they could not only put out a really beautiful copy of the film, but, really delve in and do some great extras. I'm sure Geoffrey Wright would be interested in talking about what he was going for the film, the success of it. Hey, maybe drag back, Ben Mendelsohn if he's not too famous, and, get his thoughts on it.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it'd be good. Good little insight there.
Nice one. So people dug it. What do we reckon, Jim? What other films should they?
Well, there's quite a few. I mean, Romper Stomper absolutely popped in my head as well.
Cool.
Trainspotting. They got some good, similar kind of sequences, like when Joe as the overdose. Those kind of scenes, very similar to Trainspotting. And maybe like films like, is it The Wraith with
Charlie Sheen?
Charlie Sheen, Petrol Heads.
Nice.
Yeah, chasing,
yeah,
racing, that kind of misfits and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so
nice.
yeah,
cool. Yeah, no, there's some good ones there, mate. I'm going like a few different ones. So if you want like outlaw road movies, that kind of thing, similar to Metal Skin, there was the original 1970s Vanishing Point. That's an amazing movie where basically he's this courier that's got to get from one side of the country to the other, and he basically just takes a shitload of speed to get there. Fantastic 70s road movie. The original, Gone in 60 Seconds, and if you're feeling a masochist or whatever, the Nicolas Cage remake as well. Again, some just great car chases in there, and it's balls to the walls action. I mean, the original Gone in 60 Seconds is just fucking, they're in a car and they're just fucking going for it again. So that's a good one. There's a short film out there which I can't remember if it was 60s or 70s called C'était un rendezvous, where it's this stunt driver who just attached a camera to the bottom of his car, got up at like 5 a.m. in Paris and illegally bombed it around the roads, and it is terrifying to watch. Now, I haven't watched it in about 10 years, so you could probably track it down on YouTube now, but C'était un rendezvous, and I'll have a look, see if I can drop a link to there. It is terrifying. Yeah. It in the same way that you were kind of like worried for the characters, in this one you're just worried for any like innocent bystanders in that. So those are the kind of car movies I'd recommend. For the character who's the protagonist who turns out to be the villain, another kind of, I think, late 80s, early 90s would be Tetsuo Iron Man. It just had me that vibe of like, this meek, innocent kind of guy becoming something monstrous. Completely different film, very, sci-fi, Japanese splatterpunk, but it just
like 976 Evil. That's kind of got a similar thing. Ooh, meek, kind of quiet kid turns demonic.
I mean, it's a popular thing in horror. But in that other kind of genre, it wasn't one that I was kind of that familiar with. So good call. And those are my picks. But yeah, Jim, cool. Nice one. And I'm great. I'm always glad to kind of revisit a film and be wrong about it. Because I don't go into films wanting to hate them. I go into films wanting to love them. And
with an open mind.
Very rare that I'll rewatch something that I wasn't fussed on. And it's great when I'm like, you know what? That went bad. So
yeah. I tell you what, I'm excited for next week's film review. Have
you watched it yet? Or no?
I have indeed watched it.
Nice.
I can't wait to go through that one with you. So there's loads of good ones coming up, people. So so you don't miss any videos. And
we'll do a quick sneak preview. Our good friend Tom Savory has been pestering me. Has he been pestering you about a Christmas special?
God, yeah.
So I've located one. Again, this one doesn't look like it's had Blu Ray. We won't mention the title yet, but it's available on Prime as well as YouTube as well. So there's copies.
Yeah, I need to. I'll have a look into that.
We'll get around to that one. No, Jim's got some good stuff coming up as well. Did you still want to do that slasher one, Jim?
Yeah, we'll give it a whirl. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I'm sure it's good fun. I'm sure it's good fun. It's got to be.
Yeah, so we've got some coming up. So looking forward to it. So again, guys, if you've seen Metal Skin and you dug it, any films that you think we should be checking out, that's great, either related to Metal Skin or otherwise. And then Jimmy, take us away.
So if you like this video, then please hit the like button. If you've been enjoying the Mad Science content, then why not subscribe to our channel and follow us on Facebook? If you have any comments or suggestions, then leave those in the comment section down below. Yes, thank you, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.